Let me start with a simple question. Why does learning feel so hard to start and even harder to sustain? The answer usually isn't motivation. It's not discipline. And it's not how much you care. Most of the time, it comes down to routine, or more accurately, the absence of a routine that actually fits real life. Welcome back to Learning Reframed, Education Without the Noise. I'm Dr. Ken Feldman, and today we're talking about routines. Before you tune out and assume this is another conversation about waking up earlier, color coding your calendar, let me be clear that's not what this is about. The episode is about routines that work in real life, ordinary life, not ideal life, not perfectly optimized life, real everyday life. Whether you're a student trying to build study habits, a parent teaching structure at home, or an adult learner fitting learning into an already hectic schedule, or an educator supporting others, routines matter more than motivation. Most routines fail not because of lack of discipline, but because the routines themselves are poorly designed. Today, we're going to look at why that happens and how to build routines that reduce stress and support learning instead of fighting it. So, why most learning routines fail? Most learning routines fail for one simple reason: they try too much. They borrow systems designed for institutions and apply them to individuals. Schools need schedules. Schools need schedules that manage hundreds of people. Your life doesn't work that way. Your brain doesn't work that way. So, what usually goes wrong? The routines are way too rigid. One disruption breaks the whole thing. It ignores energy patterns because not all hours of the day are equal. It's too ambitious. People try to go from no routine to a perfect one overnight. Why routines fail? People assume the problem is them. It usually isn't. Effective routines share certain qualities. They're predictable, simple, flexible, rhythmic, and most importantly, sustainable. When those elements are present, learning stops feeling like a daily negotiation. They start to work. Story of Sarah and Ethan. I once worked with a homeschool parent named Sarah and a 9-year-old son, Ethan. Sarah created what looked like an excellent schedule: clear time blocks, multiple subjects, really careful planning. But by mid-morning each day, they were both exhausted. We stripped the routines down to 3 specific anchors. The first, a learning block, short, focused academic work. Second, a skill block, building practical capability. Third, an exploration block. Curiosity drives learning, put it in play. That was it. And within a couple of weeks, resistance dropped. Ethan began working more independently. Sarah stopped feeling like she was forcing the day forward. Nothing about Ethan changed, the routine did. So, what does an effective routine feel like? Across multiple contexts, effective routines feel similar. For students, a workable routine doesn't demand hours of effort. It asks for consistent presence. 25 focused minutes a day on one hard subject accomplishes so much more than irregular marathon sessions. For homeschool families, effective routines replace constant negotiation with a predictable pattern. When children know what comes next, anxiety drops and cooperation skyrockets. For adult learners, sustainable routines allow flexibility. Missing a day doesn't mean failure, it just means adjustment. For teachers and tutors, good routines lower the barrier to engagement. One focused activity per day, one focused activity per session, followed by one small independent task, is often enough to build momentum. The common thread through all this is simplicity. We need practical tools. It's a 3-block framework of practical daily tools. The first is the learning block, 20 to 40 minutes, focused, demanding work. The second, a skill block, 15 to 30 minutes, practice and application. And the third, an exploration block, 20 to 40 minutes. Make learning fun. Give it curiosity and connection. You don't have to complete all 3 in one sitting. What matters is they appear on a regular basis. Consistency matters. Start with a small win. How you start determines what follows next. Beginning with something manageable prepares the brain to handle harder activity later. This isn't lowering standards. It's about creating successful momentum. Create a start signal. Repeated cues reduces resistance. Same location, same sequence, the same opening action trains the brain to shift into focus. Over time, starting becomes so much easier. Use the reflection trio. At the end of the learning time, stop and ask, what felt easy? What felt challenging? And what felt interesting? Reflection turns activity into insight. Insight creates success. Some real-world examples: students, homeschooled families, adult learners, and tutors all use these tools differently, but the pattern is the same. When routines are manageable, people follow them. When routines demand perfection, people basically avoid them. So why do routines create freedom? Routines are often misunderstood and frankly restrictive. In reality, routines reduce decision fatigue. When you don't have to decide whether to learn or to how to begin, you preserve mental energy for the work itself. A predictable structure also creates emotional safety. When people know what to expect, their brain stops scanning for failure. That safety follows focus, curiosity, and confidence to grow. Chaos doesn't create freedom, structure does. Create the pause. Consider your current routine. What feels unnecessarily complicated? If you look at your routine, you'll find multiple items that just feels like it shouldn't be there. What could be simplified this week? What could serve as a reliable start signal for your educational sessions? You don't need to change everything. Matter of fact, don't. One adjustment repeated daily is all you need. So in closing, routines don't need to be rigid to be effective, but they need to be realistic. The goal is not perfection. Your goal is consistency. When learning becomes part of the rhythm of life, instead of something you constantly restart and do it again tomorrow, progress starts to begin naturally. Next time on Learning Reframed, we'll talk about confidence, what builds it, what undermines it, and how it can be rebuilt at any stage of learning. I'm Ken Feldman. This is Learning Reframed, education without the noise. See you next time.